tuning into another episode of the Jock and Jill podcast. This is your boy Guru from Cold Coffee TV, here with your girl Joan Madden, the Gridiron Goddess. How you doing today, Joan?
Doing well. I mean, I know we talk about football a lot here, but it's awesome to see a World Series champion crowned, Congratulations to the Chicago Cubs. This is major. It took a long time to get it in that drought. Very deserving. Both teams had wonderful seasons, but we have a new champion crowned. And I know the cities are on fire, and I mean that literally and figuratively, with both of them taking so long to finally win that title. So that's major. And again, congratulations to the Chicago Cubs, World Series MLB champions for the 2016 season.
Absolutely. So, we're going to get right up into it. We're going to talk about the Thursday night football game featuring the Raiders East, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the Atlanta Falcons. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are the hosting team. So, Joan, who you got in this game and why?
First of all, what now? Oakland East? What? Hold on. Like, is it because of Winston? Like, that's your secondary team? I'm confused. Where'd you come up with that name from?
Well, I mean, it kind of, they embarrassed us and everything in that Super Bowl, and I still haven't never really let that go. They did take our head coach, John Gruden, the great John Gruden. Everybody still considers John Gruden to be one of the best head coaches ever, and he left us to go to them, and, history changed. So I call them Raiders East, still, because of that.
Makes sense. See, I was actually thinking, because you're such a Winston fan and you've been praising him, and the fact that y'all kind of like beat them last week, and kind of thinking that because you root for Winston, kind of second, I thought that maybe been like your secondary team. Like Oakland, of course, is your first team. Thinking that maybe like Tampa is the Oakland of the East for you, but that makes sense. Oh yeah, with all the tuck rule and everything, it was really easy for Gruden to win that Super Bowl. Not to mention, remember, he was already familiar with Oakland because he just came from Oakland the year before. So yeah, he won all around. I ain't like that either. He won with Dungy's team because Dungy was my boy. So Dungy should have got a ring too, but I get it now. Still, no disrespect to Gruden, love Gruden. I mean, hey, he couldn't help it that he had a little Steve Kerr, Mark Jackson situation. Congratulations to him. Well, of course, that came years after, but still, nonetheless, very similar. But I get it now. It makes sense. So as far as picking a winner in this game, of course, this is a huge NFC South battle here. Atlanta with a nail-biter win last week, and then Tampa, of course, losing to you all. But it seems like these could be the two teams. One of these two might be the winner of the division. So it's a crucial, pivotal game for both teams. Of course, Tampa being at home. Here's the thing. I'm not completely sold on Atlanta. If you've listened to previous podcasts, I haven't ever been, even when they went on a little win streak and they beat Denver, and congratulations to them. But again, this is around the time of year that Atlanta crumbles. They got a huge break last week, but before that they had lost 2 straight, so I wasn't surprised. Their secondary still giving up over 20 points a game, still giving up close to 300 yards through the air. Again, that's just secondary now, not the whole entire defense. That's just an isolated unit of the defense. The secondary is doing that, yeah. I hope that Jameis Winston will take advantage of that tonight. He didn't take as much advantage of it when he had it against Oakland last week, with Oakland being like, the lower tier of the pass defense. Of course, it didn't matter what he did with Carr throwing 513 and some odd yards. There was much of nothing Winston could do anyway. But he didn't take advantage of the situation last week. But here he is with another opportune situation. I don't know of anybody on Atlanta's team that can handle Mike Evans. I really don't. I mean, is Deion still available? Maybe you can go back to Deion back in the days or something like that. But yeah, I don't know who could really contain Mike Evans. And again, I just hope that Jameis takes advantage of it. I think being at home might help this one. Playing against, I know it didn't help much last week, but you're playing against a division rival. So the intensity level from the fans is going to be different because they hate Atlanta. I mean, so I think and they beat them already week 1 in Atlanta. So it would be interesting for them to capitalize and get a sweep here. And I honestly think that they will be able to do it. I do. I'm going to choose Tampa in a close one on this one to be victorious and sweep Atlanta this season.
That's a real interesting pick, and I definitely concur. I think that Tampa Bay Buccaneers, coming off of a loss, they were a little bit angry about it. Low-key, Tampa Bay had won 2 games straight, before they took this loss to the Oakland Raiders. So this was a team that was starting to warm up a little bit, and start reeling off some wins. So this is still a warm team. I expect for them to roll out here in this game. Now, Jacquizz Rodgers is out. He's going to be out a couple weeks, probably, but I mean, they're going to have Doug Martin back soon. I don't know if Doug Martin's going to be back out there this week. But like you said, the game breaker and Mike Evans and the game breaker and Shepard. And Shepard's not Mike Evans' game breaker style, but, Shepard's still pretty darn solid wide receiver. Then you got Brait, who you talked about on your Fantasy Fulfilled. Brait's a pretty good tight end. So I like the makeup of Tampa's offense, and Tampa's defense played pretty solid last week as well against Oakland. We had a lot of penalties, and you could look at the yards and see Carr threw for 500 yards, but if you go listen to the interviews, what did the Raiders say? Like, we couldn't really get in our offense in the first half. McCoy and those guys were disrupting a lot of the things that we wanted to do. So a lot of those yards and a lot of those points and stuff like that was rambled off in the second half. Tampa's defense is finally starting to kind of gel a little bit. And McCoy, obviously, just like Del Rio and a lot of other people have said every week, I'm sure every coach says the same thing about McCoy. One of the best defensive linemen in all of football. He can disrupt any offensive line, and he's a up the middle guy. So he's gonna disrupt the pocket for Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan can't step up into the pocket with a guy like McCoy coming up the middle.
Right.
I expect for that to be a factor in this game. They're going to probably try to throw short passes. And, with the linebackers that Tampa have, Quan Alexander, Levante David, those guys, those are great tacklers. So the screen game doesn't really work against them. You can beat them in the secondary, but you're not going to really beat them short. So I expect for Tampa to be able to defend against Atlanta's passing game that they've been using with the tailbacks. But Coleman's out, so it's really going to just be Freeman that they have to worry about. I expect for them to be able to defend that pretty well, and that's part of the reason why they beat them in week 1, because they contained the tailbacks, and they also contained Julio. So I expect for that to be the same this week. Tampa takes this win by 10.
Oh, wow, I didn't expect a double-digit lead there from wow, impressive. And even though, like you said, with the running backs being out, I mean, Atlanta has a pass rush now. So I think that their game plan is probably going to be to air it out on their secondary. So it probably doesn't really even matter who's running the ball, because they're probably going to stop the run. They're probably going to pass rush Winston, but he can scramble as well. But again, just air it out on him. That's your key to victory right there. Just air it out on him. So yeah, of course you want to run the ball a little bit to set up the pass, but when it all boils down to it, just pass the ball on Atlanta and you should be fine. All right, so that's the Thursday night game. We'll be looking forward to the results on that, and we both concurred and picked the home team, the Bucks, to sweep Atlanta with that game. All right, so moving on to Sunday, and again on the Jock and Jill podcast, we only evaluate for your Thursday's broadcast. We evaluate the preview of the Thursday night's game, then we talk about the 1 o'clock game. So that's all we'll do now, and we'll come back to you tomorrow and talk about the 4:05, 4:25, Sunday night game and Monday night game. So moving on to the 1 o'clock games on Sunday. The first one on the docket is another divisional battle. The Pittsburgh Steelers visiting the Baltimore Ravens at M&T Bank. Both teams had byes on week 8, which was much needed, as both of them were trying to do some nursing there, get some of their health back. Interestingly enough, though, it's possible that Ben might play, but also interestingly enough, with Steve Smith's situations, Baltimore fired their offensive coordinator, Mark Trestman, a couple of weeks ago, and they still lost 2 more games after the fact. So again, the bye week was very cleansing, very necessary for both teams as they come in, and this game is usually very ferocious, very tight, but Baltimore has owned Pittsburgh, especially in Baltimore over the past few years, and more specifically Ben Roethlisberger. So he actually might want to sit this game out anyway, especially coming off of an injury. Let that keep healing, But Guru, Baltimore coming in on a 4-game losing streak. Pittsburgh coming in on a 2-game losing streak. Who are you picking to win this game and why? I
mean, Baltimore, they're reeling really bad right now. This is a team that started off 3-0. Mm-hmm. And then, the last 4 weeks, I believe. Yep. The last 4 weeks. 4 straight weeks. This team just became a team that, you don't even know who they are out there. Terrence West has done his share of the work, and he's been very key to how they want to play. You can tell that this team misses Ray Rice because, they want that presence back there. They want to give the ball to the tailback 30 times a game and let him, just really dominate and wear your defense out, and then let Flacco just pick it apart. They want to make the game as easy as they can for Joe Flacco. That's the way the Ravens have played for years. They want to beat you up with the running back, make it to where your defense is all tired, so now they can't guard Dennis Pitta, they can't guard the Steve Smith, they can't guard the Torrey Smiths, they can't guard the Mike Wallaces. They can't guard these guys because now they're tired from tackling running back 40 times a game.
Right.
Taking those hits, because Ray Rice used to run with a passion. He coming up the middle, he's dragging you, he's hitting you, and all
very
this
violent runner.
Right. So they want to get back to that style of play, and if you know from back in the day, the Ravens did it with Jamal Lewis. But still to stay on point, they want to play that style of football. So Pittsburgh is going to have to bottle up Terrence West. I expect for them to find a way to do that, because Terrence West is not Ray Rice. He's good, but he's not great. Pittsburgh finds a way to bottle up Terrence West, causing Joe Flacco to have to throw it a little bit more, and that doesn't bode well for the Baltimore Ravens. I think that defensively Baltimore plays well, especially if Ben's not there. But if Ben's there, then this is a lot more difficult game for them to stop them. They had a hard time against the Raiders' offense, and Pittsburgh's offense is in the same mode. You've got Le'Veon Bell, you've got Antonio Brown, you've got Hayward Bay, and all these other guys with speed. Coates, just a bunch of different guys who have foot speed. Mm-hmm. So. And Coates, I think every game this season he's had a 40-yard catch or something crazy like that. I think Pittsburgh finds a way to pull this game out, on the road and keep Baltimore reeling.
Wow, so Baltimore could drop 5 straight according to you. Interesting. I'm going to agree with you. Of course, I'm a Steelers fan, so it's really hard for me to choose against my boys any other day, and especially against Baltimore Ravens, because Baltimore Ravens is one of those teams I despise. I mean, I liked Ray Lewis, and I liked Ed Reed, but that just about does it. I even, love Steve Smith, but I hate the fact that he's with Baltimore. I don't want him to do well with Baltimore, because I don't like Baltimore, and I don't want them to win anything. Not a swim meet, a spelling contest, a pie eating contest, a hot dog eating contest, a limbo contest, nothing. I don't care if Tommy Maddox was our quarterback again. I'm not picking Baltimore. But even though I'm very biased in that answer, I do have legitimate reasons for why I'm not picking Baltimore. And one of those is an X factor in this game. If he's healthy, let's not forget about Ladarius Green could return to the starting lineup this week. And he was a beast for San Diego. So he's still listed on the PUP list, the physically unable to perform list, but he's been splitting time in practice with other tight ends. He's been taking first team reps and stuff. So if he's out there, and they don't have any film on him so far for this season, or very little, I always look at that as it being beneficiary to the other team. If they really don't have film for you, because they really can't fully prepare, or they have to look at old footage. They don't know how he'll do in a new system, how he is after being acclimated with a new quarterback and stuff like that, since they can't get access to practice information, to practice footage. So if Ladarius Green is coming back, that's going to make things interesting. Now, Landry Jones could still be the quarterback, and Terrell Suggs has even said, look, Ben ain't fooling nobody. We're preparing for Ben. So it is possible that he comes back. In my heart of hearts, I don't want Ben back yet. I do not want Ben back right now. I don't want us to rush it. Yes, I understand we had the bye week. I know we lost without him to the Patriots. But essentially, Ben has actually only been out for 2 weeks. And to me, that's not enough time. Because you got to think about when he had the surgery and stuff like that. And then when he started the rehab and stuff. So he's only been out for 2 weeks. So I don't want Ben to play. And I think that we'll be fine without him. The other thing that you were saying about Flacco, let me just drop some information for y'all, which is very stunning to me, okay? If this serves accurate, which I think it does, I think this is up to date, okay? Joe Flacco and Ben Roethlisberger, mind you, Ben Roethlisberger has played one less game than Flacco, okay? Both of them have thrown 6 interceptions, all right? Joe Flacco has thrown 1,837 yards. Ben has thrown 1,685 yards. Mind you, again, Ben has played less games. Here's the kicker. Flacco has completed 189 of his 308 passes. Ben has completed 145 of his 226. Why has Flacco thrown the ball 80 more times? That's ridiculous. Well, granted, I understand that Ben's missed the game, but you mean to tell me Flacco's thrown the ball 80 more times in one game? That's some really... why is he throwing it so much? Exactly. So that's scary. The second thing about these alarming stats, again, they both have the same amount of interceptions. Ben's played one less game. Ben has thrown 16 touchdowns. Joe Flacco has thrown 5. But it makes sense because they've been scoring 10 and 17 and stuff like that here and there, and fire the offensive coordinator. That will get you fired if your quarterback has thrown 5 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. So this is a scary time for Baltimore's offense, like as you alluded to with Ray Rice and then Terrence West. Also, Justin Forsett's no longer with the team. So there's a lot of uncertainty with that offense, and that's the reason why Pittsburgh's defense is nowhere near as spectacular as it was. I'm going to throw some shade here. I know we used to be the steel curtain back in the day. It's about equivalent to a shower curtain right now. And I can say that about my boys, because even though they're my boys, I can keep it real, and it ain't no shame in it, and I'm telling the truth. There's been nothing spectacular about our defense since we lost Dick LeBeau to Tennessee Titans and Ike Taylor and Troy Polamalu retired. But Ryan Shazier should be back as well, and again, because we're playing a quarterback that has thrown 5 touchdowns and 6 interceptions, I think we'll be fine. I know they want to stretch the field, include Mike Wallace a little bit more, Bernard Perriman as well, and Dennis Pitta would try to be involved too. But because the running game is practically unstable right now, and the offense has been playing on life support, I think that Pittsburgh will be fine, and they should put up some points offensively, even though they're on the road. So we're concurring again with our picks. The first 2 picks we definitely concur with. And now we'll move on to the Dallas Cowboys, who are pretty hot right now on a 6-game winning streak. Big win, overtime win over Philly on Sunday night at home, as they play the winless 0-8 Cleveland Browns. Guru. Now, we know that the Cleveland Cavaliers, so far they've started off pretty hot in the NBA. Cleveland Indians being in the World Series. At some point in time, some of that magic from these other two professional teams in the same city, some of that magic juice has to sprinkle, that little fairy dust has to sprinkle on the Cleveland Browns, and they have to win a game at some point, right? Would this not be the game that they could? Because this could be a trap game for Dallas, after being so hot and probably overlooking Cleveland, and maybe they left everything in Philly last week, and Cleveland at this point is practically desperate. They got Josh McCown back, though, too. That's a plus. I expect Coleman to do well. Terrell Pryor might come back into his own as well. And Hugh Jackson is still the coach. He's still a good coach, regardless. So this could be the game that Cleveland finally gets a win, correct? That's who you're rolling with, right?
Absolutely not.
Oh, Cleveland, I tried.
See, there's a difference in playing against a team that's on a high horse and then playing against a guy who's playing for his job. Dak Prescott right now is playing for his job. Week to week, they're waiting for him to drop the ball. And week to week, he's showing up on his best behavior. I don't think that he's going to slack off one bit. I think every week he's going to come out there ready to play. This week won't be no anomaly. He'll be out there ready to play. And the Browns just don't quite have the personnel. Let's just be real about it. They don't have the personnel. That Joe Hayden has been banged up and everything like that. Joe Hayden would have probably given you a pretty good player to match up opposite Dez Bryant. But I'm not even sure if Joe Hayden's going to play this week.
Right.
So, without Joe Hayden, then what are they really going to do against Dez Bryant, Cole Beasley, Jason Witten, those guys like that? What are you going to do against those guys? And then, not to mention the fact that Zeke has just been gashing people left and right, And everybody wants to talk about the great Cowboy offensive line. I agree 100% the offensive line is the best in the league. It's great. But you got to give Zeke some of this credit for some of these runs. Like, this man is coming up the middle and breaking these arm tackles, dragging people. Like sometimes when those defenders are on him, he's still dragging them 3 to 4 yards, 4 to 5 yards. That's running back. That's not offensive line. That's running back. This running back is one of the elite running backs in the game already. And I don't see how Cleveland's going to be able to stop that. They haven't been able to stop anybody else. I'm not sure how they're going to be able to stop Zeke or Dak together. I'm not sure how they're going to be able to stop that. I expect Dallas to roll in this game.
And with my upset pick of the week, I'm rolling with... No, I'm just kidding. I'm playing. Cleveland, I tried. Seriously, bro. I tried. But I'm looking at this as kind of how Pittsburgh fell for the Miami trap, looking ahead to New England. So I think Dallas might get caught in that just a tad bit as their heads kind of blown up and big head and stuff like that, and this hot winning streak. And they are playing some fabulous football. Coincidentally, with Minnesota losing 2 straight, Dallas is now the number 1 team in the NFC. They only have 1 loss. Everybody else in the NFC has plural losses, multiple losses. So Dallas is like the star. They are the lone team with 1 loss in the NFC. If we look at if we look at the records right now, if we base a Super Bowl appearance solely and completely off of records, right now it would be the Dallas Cowboys versus the New England Patriots to play in the Super Bowl. If, hypothetically speaking, if we base it off records and records alone, because New England's the only team with one loss in the AFC. So, congratulations to Dallas so far and everything. And I'm going to pick Dallas in this game. Again, for lots of the reasons, same reasons that you said. Cleveland, as much as I want them to win, and I know they've been playing hard and playing tough and fighting, they just do not have the personnel to handle everything. They just cannot withstand everything that Dallas can deliver. I mean, at this point in time, too, like, you also have to watch for Jason Witten now, who's reemerged. And it's just like, that's another piece of poison. But yeah, that's some more poison that Dallas has in their arsenal right now. And just think, Dak has been winning games without really using him until last week. Jason Witten had 2 catches last week and 1 for a touchdown. And by the way, that touchdown that he caught was the first touchdown of the season for him in week 8. So now Dak has found him, and so watch out, Cleveland. Like, seriously, there's just too much Dallas right now. And Dez is back healthy. So, and I know that you're getting McCown back and everything. And again, I want to root for you. Cleveland is really is major time in Cleveland right now for sports teams. But yeah, no Joe Hayden. I mean, I still don't think that they're able to. And I think Coleman would do well again. I think Coleman would definitely do well, because the last time he did well, that was when McCown was in the lineup. So I think you'll get some spark back from him. But again, it'll be too much Dallas. Now, the other thing about Dallas, and this is a little bit off subject, this is November too. So Dallas's makeup and composition, they win games in November. It's December we got to worry about. So they still have another month. So I think that this is still their time right now. So I'm not really as worried about Dallas losing games until December. So again, with this being week 1 of November, again, they should be just fine. All right, so moving on to the next game on the 1 o'clock docket, the Jacksonville Jaguars visit the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, the Kansas City Chiefs, of course, are coming into this game without Alex Smith. Nick Foles will be the quarterback. And Jacksonville is coming to this game without offensive coordinator Greg Olsen. Not to be confused with Greg Olsen, the tight end for the Carolina Panthers, but former offensive coordinator Greg Olsen. So, a couple of interesting changes for both teams. But, Guru, what change will affect the team the most? Will Jacksonville finally have some life in their offense and maybe they'll win? Or will Kansas City kind of fail because it's no longer Alex Smith being the game manager that he is? Who fares better with these changes that they're facing on offense?
I think the biggest change is Alex Smith. That's what I think. I think that Greg Olsen is a terrible offensive coordinator, and this is coming from a Raiders fan who knows, about his tenure with the Raiders. Many Raider fans were clamoring for Greg Olsen to be fired. To me, it made sense that the Jacksonville fans, I'm sure that they felt the same way. Like, this offense is just regressing. It's not getting any better. He's not doing anything to help our quarterback. Get him out of here. I honestly feel the same way about Gus Bradley. To me, getting rid of the coordinator is a start. You're starting in the right direction. Get him out of there. Maybe that will allow for the quarterback coach to step in and make some good plays with the offense. I'm going to say that Jacksonville upsets Kansas City this week in Arrowhead.
Wow.
And the reason why I'm going to say that is because Alex Smith's out. Alex Smith protects the football. Jamal Charles is out for the season. Alex Smith is out. Ware might be out. Alex Smith protects the football. He coddles and babies the football, He makes sure they didn't throw anything in the harm's way. He makes sure that he doesn't, do anything that could cost you a turnover or cost you the game. Whereas Foles, on the other hand, Foles will throw you some touchdowns. He'll throw you some yards, but Foles takes chances. And Foles is very mistake prone. Foles can turn over the football. So, with that being said, I expect for the young Jacksonville Jaguars defense to find ways to make plays this week with Dante Fowler and Jalen Ramsey guarding Jeremy Maclin. Foles is going to probably take his shots. Reed's going to probably, promote or allow for Foles to take his shots. And I expect for some of those shots to result in turnovers and allow for Jacksonville to be in a position to win this game. Kansas City loses their first game in Arrowhead in a long time.
Wow, mind blown. I did not expect that. Now, maybe if with those factors, if they were playing a different team than Jacksonville, sure. But Blake Bortles has made a career of getting yards and touchdowns in garbage time because they're always playing from behind. And consequently, even though they're playing from behind and he gets those garbage points and yards, he still don't come from behind and win. And Blake Bortles, even though Olsen sucked, you sucked as well. I mean, what happened to the quarterback from last year? He is a former shell of himself. I can't even completely blame Greg Olsen because, like, Blake Bortles, you've been underachieving. Again, you were one of those quarterbacks who played against Oakland and you did absolutely nothing. I mean, like, hello, where's Robinson? Where's Hearns? You have a 2 tight end set in Lewis and in Thomas. And I bet you Thomas want to go back to Denver, like, quick, fast, in a hurry, like, right now, ahorita, immediately. Ahorita is right now in Spanish for those who aren't certain. But, yeah, I'm sure he wants to go back to Denver and even play with Simeon at this point in the game because he might get to touch the ball. But with Blake Bortles, fake Bortles, regressing here, and I don't trust Jacksonville, and I love their defense, and I actually picked Jacksonville to win the division. I am definitely disappointed, but I knew that Gus Bradley would pretty much be the demise of them more so than Greg Olsen, because you have all that talent and spent all that money. What are you doing? Are you taking a nap on the sideline? Is it like Weekend and Bernie's? You're just there, but you're kind of like lifeless. I don't get it. And I understand that, you know, Nick Foles and the way you describe him, we can call him Nick Fools, Nick Foolish, nonetheless, because he does turn the ball over. He does, and that's part of the reason why he's no longer in Philly or the Rams. But here's the thing, he's back with Andy Reid. And I like the reunion. I think that Nick Foles will be fine because he's with Andy Reid. And I think that Andy Reid is probably going to have Nick Foles not do a lot of the things that he had to do in Philly. And also he has Macklin. He's back with Macklin too. But I don't think that Nick Foles will be expected to stretch the field as much this time. And I think they're going to try to make him, and I hate to say it because I don't want to do the comparison, but I think they're going to try to make him more of a Alex Smith 2.0. Do a lot of safe stuff. Do a lot of conservative stuff. Trust Travis Kelce. And then your defense. I mean, this is a defense that has allowed about 25 rushing touchdowns since 2013. But here's the thing, though. The thing about with Charles and Spencer Ware and the other running back, which I'm about to say in a second. Right. With those three, here's the difference. Jamal Charles, what the one advantage that he has is different than them is he's an excellent catcher of the ball out of the backfield. Spencer Ware not as much, and neither is West. But I'm saying Charles is utilized more in that because he's faster, he's more elusive. Spencer Ware not as much, West not as much. But here's the thing: you plug them in to run that ball, you practically got three. It's like identical triplets, just fitting them in the system. And that's why I'm going back to, like, with Andy Reid, that's the Andy Reid system. Kind of how, like, Bill Belichick runs that system. I mean, we saw Garoppolo have success with Brady being out. We've seen them seamlessly place Wes Welker with Julian Edelman. You know, we've seen, like, Danny Woodhead be replaced. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's just that system. And Andy Reid is probably, like, one of the top 5 offensive gurus as far as head coaches in the league right now. And I just think he's going to plug them. I just think it's just a matter of one plug out of the system, another one back in. And I think he's just going to utilize them both in the similar capacities. I think he's going to keep stuff simple. He's not going to ask them to do anything different, not anything extra. We're going to make you Alex Smith 2.0. We're going to make you Alex Smith 2.0, Nick Foles in this. And we're going to make West, Jamal Charles, and Spencer Ware 2.0. I don't know if they'll utilize West again and catching the ball in the backfield as much because that's not his strength. It is more of Charles' strength. But he can, like you said, he can definitely do it. But I just think we're probably going to get carbon copies of both of them. And Arrowhead being a tough place to play. And with that defense, Eric Berry and those guys against Blake Bortles, and as terrible as he's looked, I'd still give Kansas City just a slight advantage as a result. And unfortunately, I think Jacksonville, with their new offensive coordinator, it doesn't matter. Like, maybe if they had a better game this week, you know, but I just don't trust them against Kansas City's defense at this point. All right, so moving on to the next game on the docket, another divisional matchup. It is the New York Jets avoiding getting beat by the only winless team last week as they had to come from behind and beat Cleveland. And then we have Miami, who's hosting the Jets, and they're coming off of a bye week. In the most previous game that they had, they won over Pittsburgh and knocked Big Ben out as well. So Miami playing host to this team, a Sunday afternoon game. Again, Miami also coming off a 2-game winning streak. Jay Ajayi coming off of 2 consecutive 200 rushing yards games. Do you expect that streak to continue? Again, the bye interrupted it, but do you expect that streak to continue against this front 7? And will Miami win this game and go into their 3rd straight, Guru?
I like the Jets to win this game. I mean, Jay Ajayi is a good tailback. He's a very good tailback. But I expect for Tannehill. Tannehill's not played that well, even with Ajayi running for 200 yards a game. He's not going to run for 200 yards against everybody he plays. I think that trend stops this week with the Jets front. You know, the Jets front has been underachieving, but they've won a couple games here in a row. Ryan Fitzpatrick might be speaking a little bit too far out ahead by saying that he thinks that they can win out, but I like the Jets to come out and win this game this week against the Miami Dolphins in Miami and put them back in their place.
Well, I did not know that he said that. That is breaking news to me. So this is the same Ryan Fitzpatrick who was benched for Geno Smith, and the same Ryan Fitzpatrick saying the same thing that Terrell Pryor had said about them winning out, and they still haven't won a game. Well, honey, you might not want to. That's like cuss words, honey. I just don't know. Look, Ryan Fitzpatrick got him some renewed confidence, and I'm telling you because he know because Geno Smith out for the season. And he wouldn't have dared say that if Geno Smith was like ineffective and he took the job from him like that. Nah, he wouldn't dare say it, but he know them other two quarterbacks that's back there are clipboard holders, and long as he stay healthy, he good. He ain't got that threat of Geno Smith no more, and he's starting to feel himself. He on some feeling myself. He on his Beyonce and Nicki Minaj, but
yeah, you just won a game against Cleveland. Calm down.
Right, dude. But now he did come from behind against Baltimore the week before that, but that's still, right? They've lost 4 straight as well. Matter of fact, you just snapped your 3-game winning streak you just snapped your 3-game losing streak last week. So humble yourself, Ryan Fitzpatrick. Look at here, brother. I don't know about this game for y'all. I think the bye is going to help Miami having additional time to prepare. And I know that their front seven, I totally agree with you, their front seven has been underachieving. They have not lived up to the potential. But I think Ryan Tannehill might have a good game this week because of the secondary. I mean, where's Revis? He probably will make appearance this week because he's playing against Ryan Tannehill. But I expect them to take advantage of that. I expect them to test that. I think Landry's going to have a big game this week. Yeah, so it's very important, Ryan Tannehill, that you connect with him. Coming off that bye, keep handing the ball off to Ajayi. The other thing is, I like Miami's defense against Ryan Fitzpatrick. With those guys, with that pass rush, I think Ryan Fitzpatrick is going to struggle against that as well. And I really don't think, now, I understand they've been winning without him, but I still think losing Eric Decker is big for the Jets too. I think that makes a difference as well. Even though, again, they've won 2 games without him, but you also played teams that had lost 4 straight and 7 straight. 3 straight. You handed Baltimore their 4th straight, and then a team that had won a game all season.
You just put his own right over the top of Brandon Marshall. You ain't gotta worry about that.
Exactly. So, it's just you get rid of one player, and I just don't trust Ryan Fitzpatrick again against this defense. Also, the other thing that concerns me is the health of Matt Forte. Matt Forte, don't get me wrong, he's a bruiser, he's a stud when it comes to running, but he has not been consistently healthy this season. He's missed some time, and I know Bilal Powell will probably make up for that as well. But still, without having Forte, if you don't have Forte like all throughout the game, and I ain't talking about he takes a couple plays off and stuff like that. I'm talking about if Forte gets hurt, and I'm not wishing it on him, but hey, he was just hurt last week, so if it gets re-aggravated, that causes some concern in a big part of the Jets' offense. Again, I think Powell will be fine, but he's no Forte. Obviously, Powell was there last year, and they went and got Forte, and Forte was a starter. So that should wave a red flag as well, that Powell is definitely no Forte. So we'll be watching that as well. But those are the concerns for me for the Jets coming into this game, and I think Miami will win a close one. Moving on to the next game on the 1 o'clock docket, another divisional game. Oh my God, I love these. Can y'all start the season off with these sometimes too? I mean, I'm just saying, that week 1 was kind of rough, but nonetheless, anyway. Detroit at Minnesota, NFC North battle. Detroit coming in off of the 1-game losing streak, defeated by Houston last week. In Minnesota, wow, they started off 5-0, went to that bye week, and they said bye to wins from there too, as they lost 2 straight. Lost to Sam Bradford's former team, the Philadelphia Eagles, in Philly, and also lost on the road again to Chicago, another divisional game last week. Sam Bradford couldn't get anything done. They let the rookie run all over him last week. The week before in Philly, it's just, I guess, because that defense had practiced against Sam Bradford, they were familiar with it, and maybe because they were on the road is why they lost. But they returned home this week to face divisional foe, the Detroit Lions. Detroit has been putting up offense, but they were held to only 13 points last week. Playing against a tough Minnesota defense. Do they bounce back offensively this week? Detroit, that is. Get the points back on the board. Would that be the way that they win? Or will Minnesota finally snap their 2-game losing streak and return to the Vikings that we're familiar with, Guru?
When it rains, it pours. Ooh. The Vikings just lost 2 straight games and North Turner quit. and Norv Turner was very important to the offense for the Vikings. As a matter of fact, there were people in the early weeks that were comparing Sam Bradford to Troy Aikman because of how good he looked under the Norv Turner system. So now that Norv Turner is saying that there was dissension, because there was a disagreement on how the offense should be ran, he quit. Who's going to run the offense? I don't think they have another guy there that's an elite offensive mind on the level of Norv Turner. And they are already struggling in pass protection as it is. So I'm really concerned about the Minnesota Vikings offense at this point. No Adrian Peterson. Bridgewater's not there. So, and Bradford is a very fragile quarterback. You can't really let him get hit too much. So you got to kind of come up with some real creative stuff to kind of keep him protected because the offensive line hasn't played that well this season. I'm really concerned about the Minnesota Vikings offensively. And, even though the Lions have been giving up yards and points, we're still talking about Ezekiel Ansah, one of the league leaders in sacks the last few years. And we're talking about Haloti Ngata up the middle. Ezekiel Ansah and Haloti Ngata aren't no fish cake. These dudes are coming up the middle and they're going to make some plays against an offensive line that's struggling to block anything. I'm concerned about the Vikings on that front. I'm also concerned because, the Vikings defense, as elite as it is spending too much time on the field because of that. Because of the offense inadequacies, I guess. So, they may contain Matthew Stafford. As elite as Matthew Stafford's been playing, they may contain him for a good portion of the game. But after a while, if the Vikings offense can't muster up anything, I expect for the Lions to find a way to get some points on the board. And for that reason, I'm going with the Detroit Lions this week to bounce back from their loss last week. And the Vikings moved to 3 losses this season.
Wow, so not only are you saying the Vikings are going to have their 3rd loss, but their 3rd consecutive loss. And this one being at home in that new, beautiful stadium? Wow, interesting. And as you alluded to, with Norv Turner being as successful and as long-term of a coach as he has been, thankfully the Vikings do have like a couple of backups. I mean, Shermer's had success, obviously, in the NFL. Pat Shermer we're speaking of. And Tony Sparano. He's another one on the offensive staff. And coincidentally, Norv Turner's son is still there. He's the quarterback's coach. But that's probably going to be awkward, I think that Minnesota definitely made a big mistake in this. I understand, sometimes there's that mentality of too many Chiefs, not enough Indians kind of thing. But here's the thing with Mike Zimmer. You're a defensive-minded coach. Even though you're the head coach, you come from roots of being a defensive coach. That's your strength. Stick with that. Whatever it is that Norv Turner wanted to do, he's an offensive genius. Has won Super Bowls, has had success in college and in pro. You let him have that. You kind of detour to that. It's kind of like you hear an ambulance coming and you just pull over and you let him have his way. And whatever the differences were and the dissension was, Norv Turner just has to win that battle. And I get that you are the head coach, but again, that's not your lane. And I mean that literally and figuratively. Offense is not your lane. So I think that this is going to cost you, especially because part of the reason why you have had as much success as you did with that 5-0 start specifically was more to do with your defense. Not completely necessarily with your offense. And the thing is, I think that your offense was probably about to turn the corner. They weren't making a lot of mistakes, but they weren't putting a lot of points on the board. And I'm saying, like, that game against Carolina, that was all eight sacks on Cam. That was all defense right there. And the reason why you beat Green Bay, that was because of your defense. Because I think the offense put up 17 points, but you held Aaron Rodgers to 14. And I think it was like the fact that you lost to 2 straight. I think that you did need to make some changes on offense, but not to the point to where you had the offensive coordinator quit. But I also believe you were about to turn that corner. You've had issues in running back. McKinnon didn't play Monday night, so you had the injuries. Of course, no AP, no Teddy Bridgewater, as you've alluded to. Stephon Diggs hasn't been all the way healthy. So I can't really even completely blame Norv for like whatever the issues was with the offensive coordinator. I can't even say like, oh, Norv sucked or he was about to get fired. No, there was a lot of other. It's not like Jacksonville's offense where everybody was healthy and they just wasn't doing anything, or like Baltimore when you got Mike Wallace and Joe Flacco, a Super Bowl winning quarterback, a Super Bowl MVP, and the offense was only putting up 10 and 17 points. You had a lot of things dictate why your offense was kind of stagnant. And I just think you need a little bit more time, but you blew it with this. And I think it is going to cost you and you're going to struggle. Not so much to the point to where I think that you will be Detroit. And that's hard for me to say because I love Jim Caldwell and I love Eric Ebron. I really do. I think Ebron's going to have a big game, surprisingly, though. I really do, even though Minnesota has such good defense. But I think what happens is the reason why you're probably going to win is because of the turmoil. Sometimes that fuels and it turns into passion. That drives you a little bit more. And you are returning home. You were 5-0. The 2 games that you lost were on the road. I think the fact that you are returning home is going to be a bonus for you. And I like the other pieces that you have on your offensive staff. I think there's some decent names, but for the long term, I think that missing North Turner will be big. But I think that you'll do just enough this week to win the game. If I'm wrong, I'll be happy that I'm wrong because of my allegiance to Caldwell and Ebron, so I won't even trip. But I think that you just barely, in my POP voice, I think that you just barely do enough to win this game and have this divisional victory on your tally. All right, so the last game that we'll discuss for the 1 o'clock, again, we only talk about the 1 o'clock games with the breakdown and the Thursday night games on this edition of the Jock and Jill podcast, and we'll be back with the rest of the games tomorrow. But this is another divisional game. Oh, my goodness, I love this. The Philadelphia Eagles, of course, coming off of a divisional loss on Sunday night, a divisional overtime loss on Sunday night. And they travel to the New York Giants, who are coming off of a bye week. But this should be an interesting game, as all NFC East games always are. So let's see. Guru, what are your thoughts on this game? Who will win in this NFC East divisional battle and why?
I think that coming out of this bye, the New York Football Giants will come out with a new passion, a restored passion. I think that Odell will have a big game, even though the Eagles defense has proven over the last few weeks to me eventually, now that the Philadelphia Eagles defense has finally proven it to me, I mean, not that I matter that much, but they've finally proven it to me that their defense is elite. I think that they will play well in containing Eli and containing the running back Rashad Jennings. I think that Odell Beckham shows up big this week, and that will open up things for other people. I think the Giants find a way to win this game at home, and the Philadelphia Eagles, considering that we've monitored their schedule, I expect for the Eagles to reel off some losses. I think that they start reeling off some losses again now, starting this week against the New York Giants in New York.
And I'm going to agree with you. The Giants were my pick to win this division, but that's not why I'm going for them. For a lot of the reasons that the Guru said, them coming off of a bye week also. Also, one other thing, the way that dear Giants, the way that you invested all that money in your defense this offseason, you need to do that in your running game for the 2017 offseason. Just putting it out there. You need to take those same necessary measures and establish a running game for real. Whatever they do, whether it's free agency, drafting, trading, whatever, but you have to invest in a running game this offseason. That has to be your priority. But I do think that you will play boldly against this secondary that is very stout of the Philadelphia Eagles. I agree with you that Odell will have a big game. I actually think Victor Cruz will have a big game as well. Sterling Shepard, not so much, because not even so much like he's not talented, but they've kind of phased him out of the offense, and he's going to be one of the guys that I say to bench on my Fantasy Fulfilled episode. I'll elaborate a little bit more and give you more players, so be on the lookout for that episode as well. Produced by Cold Coffee TV, the mad scientist, the Guru, here to my right. So yeah, be on the lookout for that as well. But yeah, I think as you said, coming off of that bye, I think that they will be restored. And as we talked about in a previous podcast, because we were talking about undefeated teams at the time, Philly was 3-0. So we looked at their schedule, we analyzed and broke down games that they could lose, and this is one that we were looking at. And for me, not even knowing that the Giants were coming off of a bye week, having more rest and having more time to prepare, I didn't even know what the Giants were coming in with that. I think that serves as a bonus for them. So and honestly, I think Philly left a lot out there at that game. I think they left a lot in Dallas. It was a late game. They played hard, exactly, and they played an extended period of time as well, because that game went into overtime. I think that some of the confidence and stuff was down, and here you are on the road again with another divisional match, and I don't think that you'll be able to get up again for that. You know what I mean? Again, I think that your heart was broken a little bit. Like it's kind of, here we go again. you know. And you want to try to knock the Giants out, but again, I just think that they have a little bit more things that favor them, and they'll win a close one. But nonetheless, I do think that they will win in this battle in the NFC East. All right, so that's going to do it for this installment of the Jock and Jill Show podcast. We thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to check us out on YouTube and on SoundCloud. We know that the holidays are coming up. Election is coming up. Daylight savings time is coming up. All those things. And we encourage you to go out and vote, definitely. But we also encourage you to take a moment just to continue to support us. We got a lot of big things on the horizon, a lot of projects coming on now. The NBA is involved as well. Definitely keep your eyes and ears out for us. And speaking of which, Guru, tell the good people how they can find you, how they can locate you if they need any of the services you provide, producing, making beats, videography, photography, all that good stuff. Let them know how they can get a hold of you.
Like Cold Coffee TV on Facebook, follow Cold Coffee TV on Twitter, subscribe to Cold Coffee TV and Cold Coffee News on YouTube. Run with us and run from us, baby. You know the motto. Shout out to Raider Nation.
Al. And it's for me, your girl Latasha Miles, aka Joan Madden, the Gridiron Goddess. I can be found on Facebook under Latasha Joan Madden Miles. Again, Latasha Joan Madden Miles on Facebook. Twitter and IG at she_SPN. Again, at she_SPN on Twitter and IG. The YouTube channel is She SPN the Network. Again, that's She SPN the Network on YouTube. And my book entitled When Football Season Turns You Into His Side Chick, The Ultimate Survival Guide for Relationships and Households During Football Season, is available right now on createspace.com and also on amazon.com. So be sure you go out and support that as well. Again, we thank you all so much. We appreciate our SoundCloud listeners. We're going to be expanding as well. Thank you all so much. Cold Coffee TV being out in the streets, doing a lot of production, being very involved in the community, and yet with all the interviews and stuff that I have going on. So we definitely thank you for your support, and please continue to do so.
So just chill to the next episode.
We'll catch you all next time. Thanks again. We're out.